Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all well. I hope you're doing good. Today is a Saturday, the sun is shining, so I am obviously feeling pretty happy. And I've got a haul for you guys, so that makes me feel even happier. Today I wanted to show you all of the books that I picked up while I was in America. I know you will have seen some of them at the end of my Barnes & Noble shopping vlog, but I just wanted to do a separate video to kind of talk through all of the books I picked up in one go. So it will be including those, but also some others that you haven't seen yet, so I'm super excited. Before I get into the video though, please, if you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button, make sure you turn on those notifications. It helps me out a lot, and obviously it means that you guys get to see more of my videos as and when I upload them, which is usually 2 times a week. I know, right? 2 whole bookish videos every single week. Can you believe it? I can't. Anyway, please excuse the hat. I realise I'm looking very American tourist today, but honestly, my hair underneath this hat is just, it's not the one, okay? It's not cute, it's not pretty, it needs a wash, but I also wanted to film this video while I had a full face of makeup on, so this is what we're doing. And also apologies if you can hear my dogs barking or things banging around. My family have all just arrived home as I've started filming this video, so inevitably there is noise. Anyway, on to the books, which is obviously the reason why you guys are here. So I have all the books piled up behind me here, and I'm just going to pick them up at random and talk through them. So I'm not going to kind of break them up into my 2 Barnes & Noble visits. We're just going to go right on ahead and talk about books. So the first book, and probably the one that I'm most excited about, is the American paperback edition of Crescent City, House of Earth and Blood by Sarah J Maas. This I'm not really going to talk about in any great length because honestly, you guys know by now that this is my favourite book of all time. I have spoken about it so much on this channel that at this point I feel like it needs no further introduction. But for anybody who is unaware of this book, this is Sarah J Maas's first adult fantasy. The second book in this series actually was released in February this year. So if you haven't already picked it up, now would be a really great time to read this because you obviously have the second one ready to go, and I believe we're getting the third one in 2024, but unconfirmed. But from whispers on the grapevine, I think 2024 will be the year. But this one is brilliant. This is my favourite of all of her releases, and it is about Bryce, who is a half-fae living in the city of Lunathian, otherwise known as Crescent City. And Crescent City is full of every single supernatural creature you could possibly wish to lay your hands on. There's vampires, there's werewolves, there's angels, there's fae, there's all sorts. And basically this book, I don't want to give it too much away because a lot happens literally right at the beginning of the book, but let's just say there is a little murder mystery that needs to be solved. There's a little crime, there's a little thriller, there's some good old Sarah J Maas fairy spice. Yeah, it's a very, very good one. I love this one. I actually really love the second one, but this one is still my favourite, I think, because it has some of my favourite characters in it who we don't necessarily see in the second book. And also I just really loved the world building in this. Now I will say this is a lot slower paced than kind of the ACOTAR series, for example, because like I say, it's her adult fantasy, and therefore there is a lot more world building and a lot more kind of that needs explaining. So don't go into this expecting like a super fast paced read. Definitely stick with it though, because the world building is so worth it. I think this is honestly my favourite of all of her universes that she has, or worlds, sorry, that she has written so far. So because I have this in pretty much every single edition now from the UK, I also just really needed to get my hands on the US paperback. So yes. Next up we have Promises and Pomegranates by Salvar Miller. This is the first book in the Monsters and Muses series. I thought it was Vipers and Virtuosos, but that's the second one, isn't it? Yes, so this one I believe is a Hades and Persephone retelling, and it focuses on Elena and Cal, and I feel like from the synopsis that sounds almost a little bit like a mafia-ish. It doesn't give a lot away in the background, like, at all. So yeah, I don't know a huge amount about the plot for this one, but a lot of people say this is really good. I've had this on my wish list now for so long on Amazon, so I'm just really glad that I was able to pick it up in person. It's a lot smaller than I thought it was. I actually thought this was quite a chunky book, so I feel like I am gonna whiz through this one quite quickly, but I am super excited. I read my first Hades and Persephone retelling last year, which was A Touch of Darkness, and I really, really enjoyed it. So now I'm definitely kind of here for the Hades and Persephone content in a big way. In a big old way. If you have watched this channel for any length of time, you will know that I really love Grady Hendrix, and I am slowly working my way through his back catalogue as well as his current releases. Why am I not in focus? So I picked up We Sold Our Souls by Grady Hendrix, and my friend also picked this up as well, so we're going to do a little buddy read. One thing I'm going to say about Grady Hendrix is that I love his covers so much. Like, this one obviously looks like the front cover of Rolling Stone magazine. My Best Friend's Exorcism looks like the front cover of a VHS tape from the 1980s. Horror Store looks like an IKEA catalogue. I am so here for it. I need to pick up Horror Store actually. But anyway, this is about Chris Pulaski, who is a heavy metal guitarist. She used to be in this band called Dirtwork. And basically their lead singer broke away from the band and pursued a solo career, leaving her to have to find another career entirely. She ends up working at a Best Western, but then there's like a shocking act of violence in her life, and she starts to wonder if perhaps Terry is responsible for more than just breaking up the band. So Grady Hendrix's books tend to be quite gory and quite really unsettling. There's always elements to them that literally turn your stomach and make you feel really uncomfortable. So I would imagine that this is going to be a central theme in this. There's also usually quite a bit of like supernatural elements, whether that be the devil, whether that be vampires. So I'm curious to see what it is here. Now, I'm wondering at perhaps like a devil, so maybe like there's a possession or something. That would be really cool. But yeah, I'm really excited. Like, it says here, her journey will take her from the Pennsylvania Rust Belt to a celebrity rehab center to a satanic music festival. Love that. We Sold Our Souls is an epic journey into the heart of a conspiracy-crazed, pill-popping, paranoid country that seems to have lost its very soul. I'm so here for it. Like, I'm literally so here for it. I can't wait. This might be one of my next reads actually, because I'm very much in the mood for Grady Hendrix. So yeah, we shall see. But I am fully looking forward to this. Next up, we have a little romance. We have A Low Country Bride by I practiced saying this before this video. I still can't pronounce her name properly. I'm so sorry. Prislacia Williams. Now I have to admit, okay, I bought this on a whim because it's set in Charleston in South Carolina, which is where two of my best friends got engaged, and it features a military vet, and he's a military vet. So I was like, oh, this reminds me of my friends. I'm gonna pick this book up. But I actually really wish that I'd read the first page like in store, because I read it when I got back to my Airbnb and I was not impressed with the writing at all. So I feel like this one is gonna possibly be not the best. But we're gonna try it anyway. We're gonna try it and see, because I could be surprised. But this follows the story of Maya, and Maya is a wedding dress designer, I think, who was born in South Carolina, went to New York City to follow her dream, and then her father falls ill, so she comes back home and she ends up working for a small boutique in Charleston. Little does she know that she is going to fall head over heels in love with the owner, but also they're going to clash heads. Of course they are, because this is a rom-com. So they're going to clash heads and then they'll fall happily in love and live happily ever after. That's my prediction anyway. Then we have Hard Cash Valley by Brian Panowick. I don't know, we'll go with Panowick. So this actually caught my eye last summer, and then I didn't pick it up, and I've honestly thought about it ever since. And I went into Barnes & Noble in December when I last made my trip over to Florida and couldn't find it, and I couldn't remember what it was called. So that was really frustrating. Anyway, on this trip, I managed to honestly actually find every single book that I intended on finding, which I'm really happy about, including some additional ones that I hadn't intended to find, but found. But yeah, this one I obviously found on this trip, and I had to pick it up straight away because obviously, and it was also like buy one 50%, get one 50% off. But this one's set in Jacksonville, Florida, and it is kind of a detective story. So it's a detective called Dane Kirby, who is, I think, kind of like having a tough time. You know, he's not doing so well in his career, he's not doing so well in his personal life, and him and his partner end up investigating a case of I think it's a murder case, but then it turns out that the guy who's been murdered's son now becomes like a wanted entity by all of these criminals in South Florida who are using his like extreme intelligence to, I think, to like hack yeah, it says he's got Asperger's syndrome, so he possesses an unusual skill with numbers that can make a lot of money, and that has already got a lot of people killed. So basically the Filipino mafia are involved, you've got some like low country criminals involved, and everybody's after this kid, and Dane and his partner are having to find him before time runs out. And I'm really excited. I've basically done a really bad job of summing that up. The actual synopsis sounds way better on the back of the book, but I feel like this is going to be as good as Here and Gone by Halen Beck, which is my favourite thriller crime novel of all time. This is giving me major Here and Gone vibes, so I'm really hoping it lives up to expectation, because that book was so good, and this needs to be as good. And I think it will be. I have really high hopes, and I don't think I'm going to be disappointed. Then we have Hooked by Emily McIntyre, which is a Never After novel. So Emily McIntyre has done like a series of dark and taboo romances following some of our most famous Disney villains. This one I believe is Captain Hooks. I honestly don't know a huge amount about the synopsis, only that it is obviously involving Captain Hook, and I think when he takes Wendy to Neverland. So I'm assuming there's going to be like a romance between him and Wendy. That's my prediction. I'm literally obsessed with this cover though. Like, how amazing is that? I want to give more detail on this like when I've read it. Like, the synopsis doesn't give anything really. So yeah, I'm just going in pretty blind, and I'm excited for the vibes, basically. I'm so excited for the vibe. Then we have Gallant by V.E. Schwab. Now, I actually was determined to get my hands on the US cover because I thought it was way nicer than the UK cover. And then I actually found a signed UK special edition in Waterstones today, and I was like, oh, I made a mistake. I prefer the UK edition, which never happens. But anyway, I think the reason I prefer the UK edition is because it's thinner and it's taller, whereas this is quite chunky and it's like a really awkward shape. It's like square, but you know what, like, whatever, it doesn't matter, it's still beautiful. And I actually do quite like the parchment dust jacket. But yeah, this is V.E. Schwab's latest release, and I can't remember the name of the girl, Olivia. So this basically follows Olivia, and Olivia's mum dies, and I think she's at boarding school, and she gets a letter summoning her to the house of her cousin, which is known as Gallant. And it also turns out this is like the one place that her mother never wanted her to go, but she never told her why. So she goes to Gallant, and all of a sudden there's like loads of stuff that she has to uncover about her mum and what actually happened to her. And I believe that like if you cross like the wall at the edge of the estate or something, like bad things happen, like there's some magic or something like that. I'm excited anyway. From the look of the cover, I'm thinking there's going to be some like upside down Stranger Things vibes, you know, like a parallel universe or something, maybe. I don't know. Loads of people have given this mixed reviews though recently, so I'm kind of a little bit concerned that it's not going to be so great. I also found out it's definitely the younger side of YA, which is a real shame. I actually, when I bought it, thought that it was going to be like a darker shade of magic and like that ilk of like kind of new adulty fantasy, and obviously it's not. But I did like her middle grade series. I read the first one, City of Bones. It can't be City of Bones, I don't know. I read that one anyway and I liked it. So next up we have another thriller, and this is one that I did pick up on a total whim. This is Shutter by Melissa Larson. Honestly picked it up for the cover, not even gonna lie to you. Saw the cover, picked it up, liked the vibes, bought it. But this is about a girl called Betty, and Betty's dad dies and she's having a really terrible time, so she kind of just shuts herself off from her friends, shuts herself off from the rest of her family, and kind of goes super insular to deal with her grief. And within this time she actually gets the opportunity to star in an indie horror movie. So she takes the opportunity, she thinks it'll be a load of fun, and she goes to this remote cabin in the woods to film. But while she's there, she slowly realizes that she actually doesn't know anything about the director or the caretaker or anybody who's working on the film. And honestly, yes please, this sounds incredible. I am very ready to be scared out of my wits. That's what I want from this book. If this book doesn't leave me wanting to sleep with the lights on, I'm going to be incredibly disappointed. Like, that's the vibe I'm looking for from a horror, because I haven't had that, oh my god, I'm too scared to go to sleep feeling since I read The Shining, and that was in 2017, maybe 2018. 2017. So yeah, that's what I'm after with this. No pressure, but that's what I'm after, and I think this is the author's debut as well, so that's going to be really interesting. I'm hoping it's good. Like, it seems really spooky. It seems really spooky, and honestly that cover's just giving me major horror movie vibes, so like hopefully it just lives up to those expectations, you know. On to the last two books now, guys. Though I think there was 10 in total. Obviously I know, I don't really count the Sarah J Maas one because I've already got like 5 editions of it, but there's 9 new books anyway, so we're on number 8, I think. Can't do maths. This is Priest by Sierra Simone. This is one of the ones I was really hoping I'd be able to find, because honestly, like, I love Sierra Simone so much. Like, her new Camelot trilogy blew my mind. The Thornchapel series, incredible. Like, incredible. I'm still haven't got around to reading the last one because I just don't want it to end. So anyway, she writes the most mind-blowing smut, you guys. Like, the most and that's what I'm wanting from this, basically. So Priest follows Tyler Anselm Bell, who is a priest who has broken his vows quite spectacularly by having sex on top of his own altar. And that's all we know. That's all we know. So I'm assuming it's him coming to terms with what he's done, perhaps leaving his parish, perhaps like, I don't know, rejoining regular society, dating and everything else. Or maybe he tries to keep his job and keep his girl as well, and they have a forbidden, oh, maybe they have a forbidden romance. Ooh. So yeah, this seems quite taboo to me, and I'm so here for it. I'm so excited for it. I cannot wait to read this. There's this one, and then there's a novella, and then there's another one called Sinner, which I believe follows his brother. So I'm just saying. Obviously I've only got this one so far. I definitely think I'll pick up the others though. I actually kind of want to get all of Sierra Simone's books in physical copy at some point. Probably not yet, because I do have a insane physical TBR pile right here. I'm going to do a video on it next weekend. I'm going to film the entire thing so you can see all of the 100 books basically that I have to read. So I'm trying to go on a bit of a book buying ban just to, you know, clear this pile before I start buying more. But I think once I'm ready to buy more, Sierra Simone's books are definitely going to be like top of my list, like top of my list. And then finally, I'm super excited by this one. We have The Death of Jane Lawrence by Caitlin Starling. Now this one is I think like kind of a haunted house book, actually. To be honest, I think I got my synopsis completely wrong for this in my Barnes & Noble haul, because I've reread the synopsis on the book since, and yeah, definitely seems like I got it wrong. So Genevieve Gornichek, the author of The Witch's Heart, has said don't read this one alone at night. So this is giving me also horror vibes, and I just really want to be scared by this book so badly. But apparently this book is about Jane Lawrence, who, or actually her maiden name is Jane Shoringfield, who basically wants to find a guy to get married to as a marriage of convenience, essentially. She wants to still be able to do her work, she wants to retain her independence, but I guess she needs to be married by name. So I'm wondering if this is maybe like set in like the 1800s or something. So she chooses a doctor, and basically he agrees to her proposal on one condition: that she never visits his family manor on the outskirts of town. Except one night she's caught in a storm, so she has to, and she arrives and she finds her husband completely changed. And yeah, it sounds amazing. I honestly am obsessed with this cover. I think it's so cool. I'm really intrigued to find out what happens. It's called The Death of Jane Lawrence, so obviously I'm assuming that he kills her or that she dies. But she said in the synopsis, it says, Jane knows something is deeply wrong at Lindridge Hall and with the man she has so hastily bound her safety to. So yeah, I definitely think there's going to be some kind of like haunting. Maybe the house is possessed, maybe he's possessed, maybe they're all possessed. I don't know, but I'm really excited to read this and find out, basically. And I got this for 40% off, so just saying. Anyway, you guys, I feel like that's taken me forever to film, so I'm gonna go and say hi to my family now that they're home. But yeah, that's all the books I bought in America this time. I'm gonna try not to buy so many books every time I go, but I mean, I probably will, but I'm gonna try. But I will, because I have no self-control. So yeah, if you've enjoyed this video, give me a thumbs up. Let me know in the comments below if you've read any of these books. Obviously keep your comments spoiler free, and please make sure you subscribe, and I will see you in another video very soon. Bye guys.